My, I don't know if I should identify, I won't identify this person, but a very, 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 very close friend of mine, 30 years ago, used to work in children's homes. And she tells me stories over a 10-year period of her almost every Friday night ringing up the police and saying, Jill has just left the home at 14, got into a car with three Asian men, got in a car with four white men, got in a car, got in a van, doesn't matter. And she does this every weekend and she won't be back till Monday. I've got the car's registration. And every time she phoned the police every single time. And every single time the police said to her, if he doesn't come back on Monday, ring us again. Nobody was interested. And what we need to understand about our care system, and using the word care is an oxymoron. Children who we place into care, which is under the care of the state, do worse in life than anybody else. You're better off if you're sexually abused, physically abused, to be left with your parents. You will do better in life than if we take you away and put you in our care system. That's how bad our care system is.
100% agree, Nick. 100% agree. And as a police officer, I can assure you that it would be the absolute final solution that I would ever remove a child from their home. Because once you put them in a care home, they become a number and a commodity. And you get a whole series of different people coming on shift, going off shift. And I have been in that position. When I joined the police, I was 41. I had four children. And what I saw shocked me to my core. I could not believe what I was seeing. We had several care homes in and around Moss Side and Whalley Range and on my division. And as an older woman with four kids, in a team full of like young lads who wanted to be out in the fast cars, I was the person who would be sent to the rapes, to the domestic violence, to the missing from homes. We call them MFHs. And you're absolutely right. You'd walk in, usually on a Friday night, one of the members of staff there that was completely often disinterested or had become immune to this pattern of behavior. And they saw reporting that child as just a procedure. And you'd go in and you'd fill a form in, and there'd be, even from the officers that I'd worked with, a lot of the lads would say, oh God, here we go again. Why do they report them as missing? They're not missing. They've gone out because they want to go out. They didn't recognize vulnerability. And I actually was involved in a whole review of the missing from home process. Sadly, that is still the case. There was a judgment at the start of the process that these children were asking for it. So even though they were the most vulnerable, they were the most failed because that became the norm and nobody really addressed it. I remember one little boy who was 11 being in a home with like 16 and 17-year-old teenagers. He should never have been put in that home. And from day one, you could see that he was a tragedy waiting to happen. Within a few months, he was being found every weekend in Piccadilly Gardens in Manchester. He was being abused. He subsequently ended up dead at the age of 16. And I could see that happening. I put report after report. This child needs to be in secure accommodation. Nobody would pay for it, Nick. And that is still the case. Children in care are the most vulnerable. But there needs to be an attitude that sees these children as vulnerable and not just as a nuisance. And, I hear words all the time about how things have changed, but my work I've worked in this now for, nearly 20 years, and I have not seen a change. These kids are still being failed. And my work, I know we're going to come on to it later, but my work with my charity, the Maggie Oliver Foundation, we are contacted by victims and survivors every single day. And almost all of those have either been through that system or are currently in a place where they are being judged today and the police are not taking their allegations seriously. And when you add that together with the statistics, which say that less than 2 in every 100 reported rapes or abuse ever reaches court, then that tells you all you need to know. Things have not changed, and we need to take this seriously.
Yeah, no, absolutely.